be implemented or to be amended. So that's the new latest version of the Constitution until 2015 April, right? The 19th Amendment, right? So that's the pre-notions and preamble, and then the introduction to this 19th Amendment. So technically, the 19th Amendment, the 19A to the Constitution, was passed very recently, in April 2015, by, out of the 225 members, 250 members voted in favor. So it's a big deal and big change. And you see how it is powerful and how it is practiced to be implemented. It is mean the Parliament is playing a vital role to change or to revisit the Constitution that's good for the country or good for the public or good for the nation states. So that's why I have already discussed that whenever something is necessary, the amendment is always ready, always there to be flexible or to be revised or changed or amended. So that's the nature of amendments, right? Almost every country in the world, they have amendment to the Constitution. And none of the country only has, none of the country only has this Constitution, just draft. Anyway, right. So then the amendment, basically envisages the reductions of many powers of executive presidency, which had been enforced since 1978. That's when the Constitution was drafted, and when the situation was so much, concerned to the national security or the national development, like Mahabali project. So then the late presidents, the Prime Minister, they are turning to the President with the executive power. So sometimes, there are arguments to discuss about whether executive power is necessity or not. Some may argue it's necessity, some may not. Some may argue it's not necessary. So when we see the two important junctions that we see in Sri Lanka, basically the 19th, conflict, the internal communal conflicts and also the Mahabali development, and also like the terrorists. All three main, Mahabali project somehow is not with that nature, without implementing, to have that so much power like the president should have or not have, that executive. But when it comes to, that's why there's arguments that, some people say executive presidency can be only applicable to the who is capable to handle it. Because whenever, we all are human, right? So, we may do mistakes and we are, we are not perfect enough 100%, but, we believe about this. So, whenever a person is given so much power, sometimes he must be excited or must be, good enough to use out of this. You see, I'm not criticizing anything, but you see how it can be different, from presidents like Vyadya and then Sandrika and then Rajapaksa and the president. It's all about matters, but how they behave and how they use out of this, and how they control, how they, manipulate for the goodness of the country. So yes, even though some academics say that it could be only for applicable for the JR who can handle and who has the capacity to do so. But even I would say even the previous government, yes, who have that capacity to defeat the terrorists. That's happened, absolutely. But then, as a human, we have so much power and wealth and all, we must be, sometimes weak enough to have that. So then the issues, then there's a need for change. Or the situation was that. I'm not talking anything particular, but that's the general phenomena that we see. So even the present situation, sometimes our current president may not feel that I don't want that much power, or sometimes he might feel it's not applicable to me to handle, or I want to be a bit relaxed to getting out of this, or to give it to somebody else for the goodwill of the country or goodness of the country. It's depends on the person again. as we say, the humans always a bit greedy when our power being given, or sometimes weakness to lose the power, sometimes reluctant, sometimes misleading. So there are all this. So that's why the executive presidency and the power should be diverted from center to other bodies, where it can be more transparent and in one way it can be practiced for the good of, in a transparent manner or in a necessity manner. So that is different case. Right? So basically this 19th Amendment is solely about to reduce the power from the president and to the parliament or the prime minister or the independent institutions. And then under, basically I have already discussed during the constitution, the article I think 30 to 39 I guess for the president, how the president has power, what's his duty or her duty, what's the prosperous and what's the system of it. All everything is written in the constitution. Based on that the power is given, executed. But when it comes to this 19th Amendment, try to, flexible with that nature for the goodwill of the country, or maybe the person might not feel, I want everything, or maybe reluctant to have everything, right? Generally. So then, under this fundamental rights, it's absolute right that this 1978 Constitution enforced. Under this fundamental rights to access information, right? The transparency. There's no any hidden agenda. Whatever is happening in the parliament, people have the rights to know. Whatever the state information, they have right to know. That is more transparent and way of more democratic and good governance. And then the replacement of this chapter 12, basically about this constitution of constitutional council, which was proposed in the 1978 constitution, and then during the last previous time it was kind of not replaced, it was given the different idea like the parliamentary council, more or less same issues, but this constitution, the 19th Amendment is given the platform and full-fledged or solid exercise, power of exercise to the council, and we will discuss what they are duty of. So that's a very good thing that we see. And then the executive, something replacement of this cabinet minister, like how prime minister can be good enough to have some sort of power, not like the previous government or the prime minister who had. Right? I'm not talking about party politics, but I'm just comparing. Right. So those are very imperative, very significant points under this 19th Amendment. Right? Reduce the power from the executive presidency, right to know, and strengthening power for prime minister, and some upgrade to the good governance, rule of law, and independent bodies. Right? So these are main ideas and key points under this amendment. Right. So the Constitutional Council, that the replacement of the chapter 12, the replacement. So earlier it was there, but it gave more solid and more power to the constitution. So it was proposed in 2000 during the Benevolent Africa, and then it changed, and now in 2015 again we replaced with a solid and with more power. So it's very, even though the parliamentary is there in place, but the council is particularly has unique power to be practiced or unique character to be implemented. Right. Technically, this council has 10 members. The compulsory members are 3, like Speaker, Prime Minister, and Opposition Leader. And then some nomination members. There are 4 members nominated by President, Prime Minister, Opposition Leader, and the independent person from the AVP, whoever not connected to the compulsory members. And then 3 civil members, which is very interesting to see how the civil community also can be part of the system. So this constitutional council, it seems kind of like unique and more holistic, institute. The council who can exercise their power to certain level, to nominate the people, to appoint the people. Right? So this is the normal the structure of the body. And then you see these commissions recently, support for the independent commissions. This council support for the independent commissions. So there are some commissions, but there are some new commissions as well. So up to this election commission to domestic grant commissions, all these commissions should be independent. No interference from executive power of president or prime minister. The chairman or chairperson or the members can be appointed, can be approved by this council. But again, it can be changed by the president at a certain level. But anyway, the person should be nominated from this. President can't independently nominate any person. That's the beauty of this. So this is more independent in terms of, when we think about this transparency and the governance. So all commissioners, most of the commissioners and the chairperson have been recently, approved and with 2/3. Technically by these commissions. The commission was found, this council was found with the 2/3, right? So it's very imperative, but there are many way forward to look at what would be this independence and who can be responsible enough to be an independent. But there are issues with this independence. So whenever this is been given the more a more independent body, there will be issues to the check and balance. Oh, I can't be flexible. Oh, you can't be flexible. All these issues. So then the issues there are. But there are some issues that, when it comes to check and balance, how to do. But other than that, of course, it's more, transparent, good to see how this institution should be, the commission should be independent. Not with politics or a party or one person. Can be undermined by president or prime minister. So it's a good sign of democracy. So we can just see if you have interest by looking one by one. Perhaps everything is there in the website and Parliament Amendment, the 19th Amendment. And then the council, you can see the key members the council can appoint. It's very interesting to see the Chief Justice and the Justice of the Supreme Court can be appointed by the council. It's very interesting. Earlier it was done by everything. And the executive presidents, but now it's changed. Right? It's a good thing. It's more transparent and more, because the council has holistic and the vibrant community. Even the civil society is part of it. Right? It's something apart from the party politics. Oh, right? So then, the president and the judge of the court of appeal can be appointed. And then members of the judicial service commissions and other than the check can be appointed by this council. And then the Attorney General, Auditor General, Inspector General of Police, Parliamentary Commissioner for the Administration, or the Secretary General of Parliament. So it's very important. All the members were appointed by executive presidency, but after this council, it's more independent and they have the appointment. They can appoint, but it's depend on the president, but more or less they give the president should go for it. So that's the system of this dilution of power from the presidency to the parliament, right? So it seems a more transparent and more in a way it's good for the practice of good governance and rule of law, and also for the democracy, right? So then the discussion, because the time is given in the short span, so the discussion. So the 19th Amendment, technically we are talking about this 19th Amendment, right? Specific. So when it comes to discussion, so enhance, no doubt, enhance the democracy and good governance. There's no doubt. So any doubt of this 19th Amendment? If anybody can challenge out of this. I'm glad to have more interactive discussion. In fact, it's enhanced the good governance and rule of law. There's no doubt. But there are contradictory. Everything is done by so-called West. So-called West. Whether we should go for it or whether we should not go. But there are contradictory and conspiracy, but nothing to worry about. As far as the country is practiced in a transparency and in a democratic and good governance today, I think it's perfect. Right? It's a good thing. And then the issues with power of executive presidency. So as we already see, the executive presidency somehow is good enough to make a decision. Right? Okay, defeating terrorism, yes, no matter whether UN is antagonizing us or Western is not supporting us or they are pressuring us. No. As far as sovereignty is understood, the constitution gives a platform for the sovereignty of the states. There would be no issues, of course, but strong decision is important. I think that would be, good enough good enough to support this executive presidency for the decision making. Yes. Right? But again, I would say yes. It depends on what extent. Because as we all human, we are about greedy and we are weakness of some. So then, when it comes to nepotism and corruption and how to use my power, I'm scared about using my power. Oh my goodness, so much power. So how can I be, individually good enough or wealthy enough out of it? Again, it depends on the issues, right? And then the issues is check and balance. Yes, so many institutions, so many independent commissions. Then, my goodness, issues. We can't make a decision very quickly, and everything should be gone in under different channels and check and balance. Who are flexible, or I am not flexible, or you are flexible. So it's made more, lapse. For steps you can understand. And then issues with development. Why not? For instance, look at a country like China. The government is so powerful. So whoever wants to do the investment there, so they can do the investment without any issues. No demonstration, no public union issues, so no strike, no. Government is so powerful. When it has no independence and all, it's all about human rights, fundamental rights, can be played in a big role. So then the issues. If somebody want to do a business or invest in Sri Lanka, whether a casino or port city or whatever, they have to go under various concerns. Union, various concerns, environmental management. There are issues. So that's why some countries are more reluctant to come and invest. At the same time, can be twofold. Some people might feel whenever a country is being ruled by the dictatorship or very powerful, so maybe while they are investing, so they can also get so much money out of it. So that's a different case. But when it comes to democracy, of course, it's a bit problematic. Right? So that's why when it comes to development, sometimes it's very difficult to have this extended power division. So whenever the executive presidency, if you have, he can do immediate decision and highways or whatever it is, okay, for city or whatever it is, okay, done. All decision, one man show. But I'm not supporting, but I'm telling the issues of. And then national security, right? You see the huge disparate. I don't know whether it's the real facts or the propaganda or the political stories or narrations, all of this, but still we all are under the same system. We can see how the national security is imperative. Sometimes national security can be monitored, can be concerned with the executive power. So that we saw already that defeating terrorism successfully succeed with example. But whenever something is coming with more liberal and more liberalism aspect, like human rights, democracy, rule of law, good governance, transparency, fundamental rights and all, which sometimes whenever it comes to national security, sometimes it's problematic. People might come here, no militarization in Ghana. Oh no, military, no need to do anything with Ghana. So then the national security is a problem. But when it comes to government and rule of law and maintaining fundamental rights, perhaps it's okay. They have the rights to claim because our system should be governed by civilian or military persons. But when it comes to necessarily the form of importance, that's with the president, the head of states and the security, the national security, the state security and the head of states are the important. So that's the executive president. So there are issues, but I'm not talking about this political narrations at the moment is taking place, or the political propaganda from that party to this party or this party to that party. No. Generally, okay, sometimes it can be questionable because the military system, security system is more solid and more executive level. So when it comes to civilian strength and more flexible, then the issues whether we build a camp or not, whether we put so much surveillance and intelligence to the north and east, or we have to remove the security from that, or we maintain the human rights. That's it. Right? But anyway, it's a way forward. We can see how it is. The 19th Amendment and its way forward, right? So that's my conclusion. So you have any, maybe, I think it's a time? Okay. I'm great enough. Being given like 5 minutes. Let's have some discussion if you want. Something perhaps.
This is not regarding the Sri Lankan constitution proper. Just to compare the constitutions like Norway, Sweden, and other developed parts of the world. So, in our case, we have 19 amendments up to now for the constitution. So, it is not only the wealth of a country that country moves forward with. So, in comparison, why they are developing so fast and what effects it has on the with the constitution. So, what constitution shares to the country in the development. So, the rule of law, I think, is better implemented in those countries within. So that's why I feel that's why they are moving ahead of us. So what kind of good things they have in their constitution, which is not in our constitution?
To be honest, I'm not particularly expert on that. I'm not that much good enough to know what's the constitution that Scandinavian country has. But technically, I would say, I mean, for the development, the government should be strong enough to invite the overseas investors. But when it comes to Scandinavia, they are already wealthy enough by oil and fish. So they don't necessarily, like Norway, they don't necessarily to depend on overseas investment such as. So their government is so controversial at one point, but the people power is still there. So they can change. So that's, I was in Norway sometimes, so that's I'm glad to elaborate something more. But yes, there are constitutions all these so-called developed countries. The constitution, they are highly based on all the setup, the rule of law, good governance, democracy. As far as the system is independent and is more transparent, there would be no corruption, no nepotism, no favoritism. So the development is alternative is there. People can be, they have a right to get information and be wealthy now. They develop. So in a way, I think, in a way they succeed, but technically they are already rich countries from their natural dependence. So, there's no such comparison or contradictory with the constitution that they have. So they have a very fundamental constitution, even the Jubilee, right? Even Australia. They have the head of states, head of states, which is one of the three, even the prime minister is there.
Do you find similarities?
Similarities, unfortunately, our one is more unique because we are following like hybrid, right? The Westminster and Parliament system, and after this 1978 Amendment Act, President's executive. But if you come to US, of course, the President is powerful, but even the President is limited with the Constitution. The That's why he can't do anything but he wants. Even the term, no matter how much they are popular, while once the term is over by 2 terms, he has to go. So, but most of the developing countries and conflict countries are, neither using or practicing this constitution effectively, or they are good enough to, so that's there. But to answer your questions, I think for the development, of course, they depend on the country, because they are already a rich country and a developed country, so they don't have that much issues. But in our country, of course, we have to have issues, especially for the development of the country. We are highly dependent on the overseas investment. So when we do so, it should be either powerful government or more transparent. During the previous time, we saw some changes, some rapid development in certain level. But while we also saw the corruptions and other issues. But this government is given the hope, and we see how the 13th Amendment can be implemented for the, to practice a good governance transparency. Then, of course, the new economic policy can be imperative to, that's why they are talking for the new constitution, which can be based on democracy and development. But again, I say the 2/3 majority is always problematic, because always party politics we see, right? You can't be succeed by one party. It's always coalition. So as far as the coalition is succeed, we can think something forward. Otherwise, again, we have to think about like tiny politics or the dirty politics. So we see, in a way, 19th Amendment was implemented. I think the way forward for a new constitution maybe.